computer. Okay, we're recording. Kim, ready when you are. Do you have the questions pulled up?
Yeah, should I do a introduction and everything?
Yeah, if you want. You can do that.
Cool, all right then. So welcome everybody to our question and answer session today with Ali Tamposi. She is a Grammy-nominated and multi-platinum selling songwriter who was recognized as the 2019 BMI Pop Songwriter of the Year. And she has written with and for many of the biggest superstars in the world, including Beyoncé, Camila Cabello, Shawn Mendes, Lipa, Miley Cyrus, and so many others. So welcome, Ali. Welcome to Nvak.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So many incredible things, and I've also heard a lot of your music, and I'm such a fan of all of you, and this is fun. There's a good energy with this group.
I love it. I would really love to tap into your knowledge, so please do feel free to, expand on whatever questions I have. What first got you into music, and how did you feel about it then? And is there a difference with how you feel about it now?
So I got into music at a really young age. I started by playing the piano, not very well. I still don't play well at all, but my mom had an antique grand piano that was passed down to her, which I actually have now full circle. So, and I just, this is like before YouTube tutorials and stuff. I just kind of figured out how to play different chords, and that really, and I don't even think that they were the right structure, but I just kind of went based off of feeling. And so, that feeling of just coming home after school, or just, I really couldn't, I felt like I couldn't walk by the piano without playing it. And that feeling of just coming up with different chord progressions is I think that was my first real introduction to what the songwriter process, when it's really good, is like. It's like that marriage between, just not having something, and then all of a sudden having something that isn't tangible. And then I fortunately, I signed a couple deals in the beginning, production deals that led me to signing a record deal, that led me to getting dropped, and led me to signing another production deal, all on this journey for being an artist. I had hoped to be a professional singer by now, but at that time I didn't really know that there was a professional career for songwriters. So when I, after a few of those bad signings, well, they weren't actually, in hindsight, bad signings, because it all is part of the journey, but I ended up in front of a producer. I think I was probably 17 at the time, Jim Johnson, who was working with Lil Wayne and Trick Daddy and Beyoncé and just so many massive artists in Miami. And I just, by luck, happened to get my car towed while he got his car towed, and we ended up talking. And next thing you know, I'm in the studio with him and this writer Rico Love, and I'm playing those same piano chords that I, had been working on for the last few years. And he happened to be looking for a musician to come in and help him sort of merge hip hop and more organic chord progressions. And he, next thing, I'm writing an album with him, and then the next thing leads to the next thing, and he's working with Beyoncé, and he plays Beyoncé the song that was supposed to be my first single, Save the Hero, and she loved it, and that was the beginning and the end of my artist career, the beginning of my songwriting career. So that was like that was from ages like 15 till about 20. And that's when things started to really change for me and my sort of direction of where I was going to go. But there was, looking back, a lot of it feels like luck. A lot of it feels, feels like a reward for just constantly showing up, no matter what the outcome, no matter the fear of the outcome. Just like, okay, someone wants to work, I'm going to work, regardless of what they've done in the past, and I think, that having that drive and just sort of that curiosity really has helped mold my path. But it's, now I feel like there's so many more tools with social media and with YouTube to really connect, and also like to there's places to put your music now. There wasn't that. That was like the beginning of MySpace, and I really didn't have like the one, like right when I felt like I had the first single to show show the world, I was getting in trouble for putting it on MySpace from Beyonce's dad, who for my like 1,000 followers or whatever it was, probably like 100 followers at that time. But it was just like, I didn't really have that, I didn't have that drive, or that just, I didn't, my relationship with social media doesn't really play any part in my career, which is crazy to think now, because it's such an incredible platform. And so I feel like it's the world that we live in today is headed in the right direction for aspiring songwriters. Sorry, I tend to ramble a bit when I'm like going, so you can cut me off at any point.
I didn't know that story.
No,
I had no idea. I didn't
really?
know that. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
I was so it's funny how I feel like luck really is, and I know that that's a weird thing to say, but being at the right place at the right time is a part of the process. And then not only that, but being able to recognize the opportunity and actually do something with it, right? Because I feel like some people get presented with the opportunities and they don't jump on it, they don't take it. And I think that separates those that don't. What's happening there? Who is that?
No, I completely agree. But it's also like, when you're, that's why we're developing the things that we're doing together, because it's so, you want to be able to guide, you want to be able to sort of, with the things that we've learned, there is a way to isolate that knowledge and to give guidance, because
Eunice, can you mute yourself on the Zoom so that there's no feedback? Everybody who's not talking, if you could mute yourself, that'd be great. Do you know how to do that, Eunice, or do you want us to show you?
Sorry, hello?
Can you, is there any way that you can mute yourself so that there's no feedback when we're answering questions and we're having the Q&A?
I can't hear you, you're breaking up.
Kim, can you text her and tell her to ask her to mute herself?
So let me do that now. Give me a second.
Or I guess I think that I can, as the host, I can probably mute everyone. I just don't know how to do that. Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. Cool. Yeah, the luck thing and the just being at the right place at the right time and being able to seize the opportunity when it's presented.
Yeah, it's it's just about always showing up no matter what, because there's a million excuses you can give yourself for not going, and a lot of it is, for me, was fear-based, and I sort of had to jump over that and just dive in head first to most of the sessions and opportunities I was given, whether or not they were productive in the long run. And it is hard after you have a bad session to feel the motivation to go back, the next time, but you just do. And even still today, there's, I got asked to go into a session the other night at 9 p.m. And at this stage, I'm like, that is just, so far out of like my like world right now. But I still said, even though the session didn't end up happening, I still was like, yes, just I'll go. So yeah.
What it's interesting that, just like, I know that this isn't one of the questions, but you said something that I think applies to a lot of our girls. Like, when you talk about like the fear and the anxiety of kind of being in a session, and can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that somebody like our girls seeing someone as successful as you also maybe being a little like, anxious about going into a session, or like, can you talk to us about what some of those feelings are?
Yeah, I think it's, the performance anxiety, because it's really, you can't harness creativity. So you're just, it's that fear that you won't deliver. And that's why I've learned that just being vulnerable and expressing that fear in the studio is helpful, because everyone feels it, and everyone is also, whether or not it's in that particular session, they have felt it before. So I think that really helps to sort of get over like the hump in the beginning. And then, yeah, I think it's just, working with people that, the more people you collaborate, I feel like the easier the process is. So it's, just I also enjoy working with larger groups, because the opportunity for writers block, or is just, is lower, because you have just other talented people you can rely on. And yeah, it's but it's a gamble. That's the one thing. It's like, you don't know when you're going to have these ideas that come to you and when you're going to choke up. And it's happened. There's just no strategy. Like, it doesn't matter what I do in the morning or what I did last night. There are times that I've written some of my best work on like an hour of sleep, and other times where it just, so there's no recipe for it. But just when it comes, like, you better hope that you have something to write these ideas down. And when that burst of inspiration, it's like there's nothing that's more stimulating than getting those ideas out. And so that's where the reward is. That's where, like, you have to just hold on to those, those are the moments that get you through the challenging ones. And the challenging ones are the ones that sort of inspire the songs. So you kind of have to have all of it.
do you find that working with the same groups of like the same songwriters or the same producers helps kind of lessen the anxiety? Like, is there
Absolutely.
a way?
Yeah, but you have to go through the rounds to find the people that you work the best with, you know, and that takes, you know, and sometimes, and you might be on a run with these people for a good, you know, couple months, and then it's sort of, you know, and then you realize that it's almost like dating in a way, you know. You might want to date this person for a couple years, or you might want to date this person or have a one-night stand with them. It's just like, it just sort of varies. Or you might want to get married to them, you know, and then
Grace, can you mute yourself? Gracie, my love, can you mute yourself? Well,
I've texted her on chat.
okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, it happens. We have some people are using Zoom for the first time, so.
there's a lot going on in my household too. So if you feel like, is the echo pretty bad?
On your end? No, it's okay. No, it's all good. Kim, I feel like Allie's answered some of the questions leading into other questions. You know what I'm saying?
I still have some. Do you want me to carry on from some of the other ones she didn't quite touch on?
Yeah, I think the advice to artists, because that one's a good one, right?
Mm-hmm. Shall I go ahead with that one then, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So, Ali, what is your advice to artists who are trying to find their own songwriting style and define their sound? You've spoken about working with all these different producers and artists over a long period of time. So what's your advice to artists who are trying to find their own placement when it comes to songwriting style and defining their sound? And do you lose your songwriting style when you write for other people as well?
That's a great question. I think it's very different for songwriters and artists. I think it's, you know, I found that in the, you know, it's very easy to get sort of locked into one genre. And there was a time period where my co-writers and I were writing a bunch of EDM records, and that was happening for like a few years. And so we were starting to feel like the dance writers. And it wasn't until we got, you know, stepped out of our comfort zone and started working with more hip hop leaning producers. And that's when Havana came out of that. And I feel like you want to evolve constantly. So I think the only way to do that is to challenge yourself and to work with people that, you know, you can learn from, who might not, you know. And I think that, you know, there's just constantly refreshing, you know, constantly like exploring. There's so much music out there. Like, I mean, there was a time when I was listening to Ethiopian music and Cambodian melodies and, you know, all just, and, you know, you know, reggae, from reggae to country. It's like, there's, you know, that's the beauty of being a songwriter, is you don't have to have, you almost want to like, sort of like, as soon as you know, people can hear you in the songs, you know, you sort of like want to shed your skin, because it's like, it's, you know, the more people the more sort of lanes that you can swerve in and out of, the more opportunity there is. And so, and I think, and especially now with like all of the cross genres from, Latin and pop to country and hip hop, it's like you want to be able to jump into, into any, and that's the beauty of music right now. It's like there's no, there was I'd say like, 10 years ago, you knew what pop music was like Max Martin, and it was very sugary. Right now, it's like folk music is pop music. Hip hop is pop. It's like popular music. It's what it should have always been. But there's really no parameters in those areas. I'd say for an artist, there is that same responsibility to evolve and and that pressure to make sure you're putting out the best music. The difference with being an artist is, you can't really hide behind the songs like a songwriter can. If a song, I feel like there is more freedom to just sort of innovate and explore and express yourself in ways where you're not like put on blast for it, whereas an artist, you kind of, you have to, you're sort of like overexposed in a way. And there's a lot, that's why I'm very grateful that songwriting, I learned that songwriting is just, is perfect for who I am, because I'm glad that I learned that early on, because I never, had the authentic urge to perform my songs. I just loved the process of creating them. So I think, it's hard for me to tell. I've never really been able to put my finger on what, breaks an artist. Nowadays, I do know, though, it takes more than just a song to, especially in the beginning. It is very hard for new artists right now because there are so many. And you have to put just as much emphasis on, your social media interactions as you do your music. It's so much more than just your music. It is, it's persistence. It's trying to build your cult following to start with. And especially with, where we are right now, it's you can't really go out and perform clearly, and no one knows when that is going, when things are going to change. So your social media presence has to be, it has, that's the unfortunate reality of being an artist today. And hopefully you can find a healthy relationship with social media, because it will be a massive part of your career. So if you don't have that, I think it's very important for you to, if you're on this quest for being an artist, there's ways, and I have seen people, artists who have figured out ways to engage on social media, but also can can keep it healthy balance. So that's why I think songwriting is the best job in the entire world, but because you don't have to deal with that. And that's just me. Again, goes back to the performance anxiety, but
I think people knowing that there are so many different paths that they can take in the music business is something that's not really spoken about enough, right? Because I think that people just instinctively go, I'm going to be an artist, and that's the only thing you can do. But then you can be a songwriter, you can be a composer, like you can be
yeah.
there's so many different paths you can take, and it's about finding the one that fits your personality the best, because being an artist isn't for everybody. Like, again, like the hustle that goes into being an artist is a lot. Like, there's so much hustle and it's exhausting.
But also it's in some ways it's easier to be an artist now than it was before, because you're not reliant on the radio, you know, you're not reliant on hopping on someone's tour. You have the power, right? Everyone has, you know, the power. Everyone here has the power of the internet. So it's like, it's just, you know, finding your niche and finding your way through, and also being consistent with and being, you know, in your ability to, you know, just getting out of your own way, I think is really
That's a huge thing. Getting out of your own way.
It's a really, you know, that's a hard thing to do. I think that's, you know, in some ways struggle with that, you know, when even as like simple as posting a photo on Instagram, it's like, you know, it's this feeling of like you're sort of you're out there, you know, and the world you can't hide. It's like just there. But I think the ones that you know, the more you do it, I think the easier it gets. But there are so many incredible paths to take, and so many opportunities, especially now. I mean, now is like for women, I think it's really important that, you know, I went to engineering school, and I was one of two women that in my graduating class. And so I just happened to fall into that program. And I think, you know, I learned a lot from it. But I also learned that I don't want to be an engineer. But I've worked with some exceptional female engineers who are so badass. And so they're, you know, and I think it's our responsibility to like, let's explore all areas of this industry, and let's really, you know, because we need more female blood in this, you know, in this world, and in, you know, in these powerful positions. And the only way to do that is to like explore them and to see if it works for us.
One of the things that we've been exploring a lot with what we do with Nvak in various places is being able to give female artists the opportunity to do the creative process from beginning to end.
Right.
Everything from like writing, learning the art of collaboration, because that's something that it takes time to be able to learn that process too, to being able to record your own demo, to be able to like being able to comp your own vocals,
creative direction,
yep,
styling, like all of these things are all part of the same, are all part of our industry, especially now. I mean, I think it's like, you know, yeah, you like, I look at some of these artists and I am in awe of their involvement in every single area of their career, down to the photo shoots. And yeah, so there's just, you know, it's all a part of like expressing who you are artistically. And so yeah, I think getting, you know, it's like they all feed each other. So, and I think, yeah, it's, and I still have this like, you know, this hunger to explore all these areas. Like I would love to get into creative direction, So the more you can do from the beginning, the better you are, the more self-sustained. I think you want to be able to produce your own beat. You want to be able to record your own vocals. And these things are a lot easier now than they were before because of the programs that are in place.
Yeah, and you know, and hopefully with stuff that we're working on together, like, so Ali and I are basically like working on this project where we're going to create like 60 to 70 pieces of video content that teaches everything from like, you know, music business 101 to like how to write a melody or song structure. So we're working on this, and like hopefully by, you know, January, February, March of next year, we'll make this available to you guys so that you have a free resource that you can have at your fingertips that walk you through all these things that I think are important to just to get to that place of self-sustainability as a creative. And that's exciting, you know. Ali, one thing that I was thinking about as you were talking is like, so you have a collaborator that you've been working with for a really long time, Andrew. What can you walk us through like a session or something? Like, you go in with Andrew, has he already started like a track or something, and then do you come in and do top line? Because I think that what is interesting for our musicians, we've walked them through various ways of that like a songwriting session can go, right? Like we've talked a little bit about top line and what that is and how that works. Like, what is your process?
So it depends. We're, you know, in the beginning, before he started really producing tracks, it was mainly just chord progressions, walking in, and he would have a few chord progressions and guitar riffs laid out, and then we would just start crafting the melodies. And then from there, Is that a
collaborative process? Would you guys do the crafting of the melodies together and kind of riff off of each other?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say we're pretty much doing everything together. And then unless he has, you know, a track already ready to go, but still I'm also involved in the structure of the track. Like, should this part be, you know, should this part double, or you know, all of those things I think come into play when we start working on the melodies. You know, Andrew, I think, he is like incredible ears, and he can just hear immediately when something is off. And whereas it takes me a night to know what's happening, and it's usually the next day where I can hear it. But when you're in it and you're hearing it so many times, it's hard to really tell when it's good or not in a lot of ways. So I feel very dependent on those ears. But yeah, it varies. So, but for the most part, it's like it starts with chords, melody, lyrics, and then we record it and then sort of change whatever we need to change after. But then I've heard, you know, like Stara, she writes the lyrics first and then goes in and freestyles the melodies. So, I mean, I think everyone sort of has their own way of doing it. But I'd say the more, like, the most common way is like building it from music, melody, lyrics, and then vocals.
And then are you singing the demo vocals most of the time?
I used to, not as much anymore. And because we've now been working, you know, I think female artists are way more eager to be in the studio than they were before. So yeah, so that's been good. And I mean, And then I sort of, at this point, like opt out of recording the demos because I just feel like, you know, especially, I don't know, I think my voice it has the ability to turn some female artists away because of, they can listen to the song and feel like, okay, they have a harder time imagining where the song can go. But so that's been, you know, it's obviously more fun to sing the demo, especially if it's a song that you really connect with. And I think in the beginning of my career, that was really, that played a really important role. But then as we started to work so much, and you don't have that emotional attachment with your records as you did in the beginning. So it's sort of, you know, it's easier to just have the artist there and record the songs. But there is something that's so beautiful about that marriage when you get a chance to sing the demo and you know, and there's a lot of times where I feel like the artist hasn't matched the demo quality because it's just they weren't in the room. So
what's one of your favorite songs that you've written to date? I love It Ain't Me. I feel like I haven't written that song yet because I feel like I'm still growing and listening back. I'm like, oh, I would have done that differently. And yeah, I feel like I haven't written it yet, but I do like, I like Young Blood and I like It Ain't Me a lot, but there is one song that's coming out soon that I really do love, but Who's that being sung
by Miley Cyrus. But I still feel like, I always feel like I'm on the cusp of like writing that, you know, the hallelujah type, but I haven't gotten there yet. And I think the more that I read and the more that I, you know, am, you know, the more that like I hear great literature and poets and the things that really inspire me now as a 30-year-old woman, I'm like, I feel like there's just a whole, I haven't yet released that one lyric that really like, that I feel like, okay, wow, like I really went there with it, you know? So, and I think that's what keeps me going. I want to push myself lyrically in ways that, you know, as I'm evolving, because I think that there isn't enough emphasis put on lyrics these days and messaging as there was like in the, you know, there are, you know, you have the J. Cole's and Kendrick Lamar's and there are some exceptional lyricists of our day, but I feel like there hasn't been a really big successful song with a just profound lyric in a long time. So
what revision and revising and rewriting and editing, what does that process look like for you?
It just depends. I think it's like you hear a song back, like for example, yesterday we were rewriting a second verse and I was driving and Andrew was driving and we were like, you know, just chatting about lyrics as he was writing it down. So it depends. Sometimes it's like it doesn't need it and other times it takes, you know, fucking weeks to get it right. And you can't figure out what it is, but you're changing, you know, the Midnight Sky record for Miley that came out just a couple weeks ago it went through so many different cycles. and we had just written the song maybe 2 months before it came out, but every day for those 2 months, basically, we're just chipping away at figuring out what it needs and how to, you know, improve it lyrically and the structure and all sorts of things. And then there are other times when it just is like, it's right, you know, it just comes out and it feels good, and all it needs are some production enhancements.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like a big part of the process that we go through with our musicians is the process of rewriting, and like, you know, having them turn in songs into Dropbox, and then we like go through the songs with them and say, hey, like this part of this song is really cool, but like, you know, keep this section of the chorus, and then rewrite the whole song over again. And it's a craft. I feel like it takes a really long time to get to a place where, you know, you can pick something apart and then rebuild it. And sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it takes months, and it's okay. Like it's just part of the creative process,
Right.
you know. Should we open it up to, I'm looking at the questions if there's anything else, like work.
We have number four, and which is like, did you ever worry about making enough money from music to support yourself? Being an artist in Malawi, one of the most challenging things is like supporting yourself financially, and that usually goes a long way to raising your visual profile and your social media presence as well. Did you ever worry about supporting yourself with music, and how did you support yourself those first few years before you were stable enough to, you know, choose your direction or who you work with and everything else?
Yeah. So, I mean, in the beginning, when I was still living in Florida, I was working at a surf shop. And, you know, and then that helped me get to, you know, that gave me enough gas money to get down to Miami to go to school. And then from there, you know, I was able to, from the relationships I had made in Miami, going to school there, I was able to work in LA as singing demos for other people, and I would get money doing that. And so there was a lot of opportunity for that in LA, and just, it was like, it happened to be luck, showing up to the right session at the right time when like I was ready to move back to Miami, because things weren't, you know, I had been out in LA for a year trying to make ends meet and living with my on my stepmom's cousin's couch that I had never met before for a year. And she was so gracious in allowing me to stay there. And then just by luck, right before I was ready to move, I went into the right session, and I got a publishing deal that was able to carry me through another year. But yeah, I think that, you know, ultimately you gotta hustle, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta find people that need demos, you gotta find work, and you have to, and I think it's, in the beginning, it is gonna be, you know, it's gonna be, whether you're or not you're working in the daytime to support your craft, or you're working at night to support your craft, you got to do it. And as creatives, it's like you have to get the stuff out. So it's just to support your goal and your dream. So I think it's, you know, just being open to whatever it is that can help support that. And so, and that might mean, you know, you're you're working as a bartender. Actually, these times are tough. So it is hard to find the areas for you to help with, right now when you can't be in person. But the good part about creating is it doesn't really take much money to write a song. If you have a computer, you can write a song. If you have a iPhone, you can write a song. If you have anything that makes music, if you have a pen and a paper, you can write a song.
That's a great point. And I think the hustle, right, Kim, like that's something that we talk about a lot. That's a huge part of this, is just like not saying no to opportunity and just taking and doing it and working on yourself and working on your craft. Kim, are there any more questions from those that you think that that you want to ask, or should we leave it open for a couple of the girls to ask questions?
Definitely. I think let's leave it open for the girls. We've gone through most of them anyway, and she's answered above and beyond. So yeah, let's open the floor to everybody.
Cool. Who wants to go?
I also want to go. I had a question on arrangements. Like, what kind of arrangements do you get into with producers and even singers to do demos? How do you work around, like we've talked about contracts as Nvak, but really trying to wrap our head around how you come up with the arrangement with the producer and the singer to work on demos as a songwriter, as a way of maybe getting your name out there and stuff?
I think it's finding people that, that are at the beginning and are hungry to put the time into, to working alongside you. I don't think, I learned the hard way trying to, you're not going to get the same sort of level of focus from a larger producer or mixer, unless, even if you have the money, it's like to pay for these people, you're still not going to get you're still not going to get the same, I feel like everyone's so busy and it's just hard. So if you can find people to really team up with and involve, try to find people that are involved enough as if you guys are growing together and you're sort of a collective in that way. And that way it's like everyone wins. And you'll get, I feel like you'll get the, I think Tamar and I are trying to work on putting these programs in place so that songwriters can connect with producers and producers can connect with mixers. So it's all, but right now I think it's Instagram is Instagram and SoundCloud are like your ways of connecting with these people right now.
I think a lot of the girls have questions about contracts, because contracts are like such a so for us, right, in the US, a contract is something you just gotta sign. Like at a certain point in your career, you're gonna have to sign contracts with people, right? Whether it's with a manager, right? Or whether it's with a publisher, or even with a producer who's doing like a production deal for you. And for those of you, we haven't really discussed what a production deal is, but like, when, let's say you're working with a producer and that producer is gonna produce 3, 4, 5 songs for you. They're doing it for free, maybe at the beginning. But then like, let's say those songs end up getting you a record deal, right? That producer needs to get something because they helped you and did work for free, right? Contracts are like, it's a part of, it's just a part of the process, and they're not bad. And they're like, well, I mean, and this is where like, you have to have a level of trust with the people that you're working with too, and like understand that whoever you're working with is coming from like a good place, because ultimately, if you end up trusting the wrong people, they will fuck you over, right? Like people in the music business is full of shitty people, right? So it's really about finding your crew and your, like Ali was saying, your collective. And if you trust those people and there's like a mutual understanding between you, there's no reason why you should get into a situation where like someone's trying to fuck you over from a contract standpoint, right? But you know, you have to be smart with who you get into business with, because you know that can dictate a lot of stuff in your career moving forward, right? Like, you know, there's so many artists and there's so many artists who've signed really bad deals early in their careers and then they pay for it like 10, 20, 30 years down the line. You got to be careful of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's, you know, not everyone can afford an attorney. So I think also there are, you know, trying your best to be knowledgeable in those areas and educate yourself is, you know, you can really avoid some of these sort of, you know, some of these situations that have really like crippled artists in a way where they are, you know, yeah, it takes them years to have the freedom to, you know, move forward. So I think it's, yeah, just being on top of everything that you're doing and, you know, really holding yourself accountable to have the knowledge and to, you know, so we can't be fooled into signing, you know, our rights away.
Also, never sign a contract without reading the contract.
Right.
Never. Like, you know what I mean? Like there are many, you know, situations and circumstances that I can think of where like, you know, people just sign something because they're given something to sign, and you should never sign something that you don't understand. And if you don't understand it, find people within your circle that you trust who you can say, please explain this to me so I can be more knowledgeable about, you know, what it is I'm giving away versus what I'm getting, you know? I think that that's really important. Are there any more questions, guys? I feel like there's so many great people.
I have one question. So Ellie, like you've been working with a lot of artists who has a lot of like styles, characters, and I'm pretty sure like you have your own like how to it like style and genre. It's just very like impressive how you can like work with different artists and have like the best songs out of it with keeping their characters as an artist. So I'm trying to like figure out how you can how you're doing it. It's a really, really hard work to like be a good songwriter and work with like different artists and make sure that everything that you're writing is like their style and it matches their voices and all of those type of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, just being able to adapt to any type of situation, whether it's, you know, and like allowing, you know, and a lot of it is just getting out of my own way and learning from the artist and you know, and it's, you know, it takes a lot of, it's trial and error too. You know, there's tons of songs that I've written that just haven't matched, you know, haven't matched the artist. And so you just, you know, I feel like to look at what the artist has done over, you know, whether it's an artist who's been around for 10 years or just a new artist, and like find the missing link and the gap in the market and sort of like just enhancing their style in a way where it's just, you know, pushing myself to like to enhance my skills and also maintaining the integrity of the artist.
Yeah, totally. Because I think that, like, I kind of feel that, especially in Armenia, like with all of the people that I met who are writing songs, but they kind of don't feel comfortable with like being an artist. They're a lot like they're scared of trying to write for other people. So that's why in Armenia there are like 5 like big like singers, whatever, and there are only like 1 person or 2 people who are writing their songs for a living, like every single time. But it's just because there are not that many songwriters who can like risk it and like try to do something for other people, because that's something like challenging for them. So I would like ask, like, what is your advice to like songwriters who wants to write something for other people, but they're like really scared and like shy to show, like what should they do, what their first steps should be?
I think it's just, constantly doing it and like getting out and just like, and like, you just have to push yourself, and it's hard work. It's not easy. It's like just dedicating your time into, putting as much time as you can into enhancing your craft and like, and in the beginning you are the your own representation, so you have to go the extra mile. You have to send the emails out to different people who can help you get into the right sessions. You have to, you can't wait for someone to do it because they're not gonna, it's like only you can give yourself 100% of your time. No one else is going to do that. For the most part, you're going to have a label and a management at some point, and hopefully publisher, but those people you're only going to get 20% of their time. So it's like the more time, and I learned that the hard way too, just like waiting around with my phone in my hand, for my phone to ring from someone but it's like for that time that you're waiting, you could be just reaching out, sending your music to this person, DMing that person on Instagram, just exploring, learning, like just like persistence is key.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much. Like it's very inspiring, honestly.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Can I ask a question?
Rose, was that
Yeah, can I ask one question? Yeah. So I know, like, you told that you wanted to be an artist, like in the beginning of your career, and then you became to write for somebody else. Like, I know you do it for a long time now, but are there some songs that you just like, not during the collaboration, but like you write something and you think, I'm just gonna keep it for myself, and maybe one day I will sing it myself? Because sometimes, like, when you write something, of course it's always something personal, and are there songs that you just like not ready to give to somebody else to sing it because it's too personal for you?
In the beginning, not necessarily in the beginning, but I'd say there has been those songs over, the course of my career. But it's interesting, like, it's interesting what time will do as you evolve as a person. It's like you'll hold songs back from getting released because of that emotional attachment, but you also if there is an opportunity for that song to get heard quicker with a more established artist, I really, I also learned the hard way of like holding on, and then 2 years down the line you listen back to that song and you don't connect with that song anymore, and you could have had an opportunity to have that song heard. And I don't think I would have I would be a songwriter without that first, you know, that Save the Hero, I think, is an example of like that song was like the first time where I felt like people were excited about me as an artist. And then as soon as that excitement hit, it was, you know, there was a much larger artist who wanted the song. And I think that decision to let that go was, you know, even though the song was only a bonus track in Japan or something like that, and it wasn't, you know, and it just gave me the push that I needed to keep going. So I think it's really important to become aware of in the beginning, become aware of the opportunities that, you know, and I think it's letting go of your ego, letting go of these songs, because you're going to write more and you're going to write better ones. So if your best song that you've written that you feel so emotionally attached to, I think it's just, you know, that I've seen it happen with so many artists who have actually hurt their careers by holding on to their records. It's just better for you to become established, and to become established, you need you need something to show for it. And I think it's easier to, you know, you're given more opportunities once there is momentum. So I think that also goes back to getting out of your own way, and you will write better songs, and you will write it, you know, so, you know, just keep it moving in the direction where the opportunities are.
Wow, that was a great answer. There were some really good, the ego thing, it's so true. And getting out of your own way is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Noam? Anyone?
I have a question.
Hi, Noam.
Hi, Ali. Hi. I'm a big fan of your work, first thing. I want to be a songwriter in the American pop industry and not necessarily in my country, which is Israel. But I feel like not being American is a big obstacle for me. For many reasons, I guess, like not living in LA is a very, I don't know, it's like a hard thing to do when you're not there. So my question is like, if you have any tips for someone who's starting like me and who's not living in the US right now, if you have like any tips, what should I focus on?
Well, I think right now there's no better time to, you know, you can really be anywhere and write with people, because, you know, prior to the pandemic, no one was writing virtually. So it doesn't matter, I mean, where you are right at this point, because everyone is relying on technology to keep it moving. So I think that goes back to exploring different, you know, trying to find, and I feel, you know, it sucks that there isn't a Instagram for musicians, which I think very soon there will be something like that, where artists can connect with producers, where creatives can sort of meet. But right now there is Instagram, and I think that there, you know, you've got to do the research and finding people that way. And people are everybody's doing Zoom sessions, so there's no better time to take advantage of this. You know, where I think geographics, you know, is less of an obstacle now, because you can ultimately do it anywhere. No, and so so I'd say, ladies, like really take advantage of this time and really be proactive in reaching out and doing the research. And, you know, if you're on your phones, if you're on your computers, like you should be like, just, you know, and Tamar can help, you know, I don't know, you know, Tamar can help also facilitate like areas or to just guide you in the right places to look and you know, whether you're looking up, you know, researching BMI or ASCAP or CSAC, finding new writers, you know, calling these places and getting some guidance that way too. It's like just getting on that grind. And you should only be like, spend less time looking at Instagram for whatever and getting caught up in what everyone else is doing, but more, and then more time honing in on your craft and finding ways to connect with people. The networking thing is key, big time. So unfortunately, there isn't like one isolated platform for just musicians right now, at least I don't think. So, you know, going on SoundCloud, I've had so many, you know, writers like hit me up, but I think trying to find writers and producers that are also on the rise, you know, because you can hit up, you know, Louis Bell and he probably won't get back to you, but if you're hitting up someone, you know, who's just getting started and has the time and wants to collaborate, chances are you're going to have more time working with that person. But yeah, getting adjusted to these Zoom sessions, especially, you know, in right now when you guys are also, you know, this is the beginning of your careers and you should be, I mean, I was doing 2 sessions a day, sometimes 3. And that's when I was driving around LA, which is not an easy place to drive around to. And some of those sessions I wasn't even invited to. And so it's like, now there's just like, you should be bam, 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 knocking them out, but also not overworking yourself. But like, if you feel inspired, like just even if you don't, conjure up that inspiration in the beginning, it is key. So I think, yeah, just get on social media, do the research and like get on, you know, find people that want to collaborate and, you know, tomorrow there's no person that's more persistent than you. And I think that I feel super inspired by the way that Tamar is just, you know, like you're an example of someone who is out of their own way. You know what I mean? Like you just, that when that narration of like, you know, starts to kick in for like, you know, like just afraid of how it might look to reach out to someone over and over again. It's like, those are like trying to become aware of that voice and turning it off because like it's so important in the beginning.
And guys, and like use our network, right? Like Noam, if you write something amazing, send it to me. I'll play it for Allie. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've sent Allie, I've sent you Rosa stuff. I've sent you Brunette stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like the network that we're trying to create for you is a real network, and we can send your music to people who we know. And ultimately the goal is to help you on every single possible level you can think of. So use us, right? We're here for you. Allie, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for taking an hour and 15 minutes of your Sunday to do this with us. We love you and appreciate you. And I'm so happy that you were able to meet some of the girls today because they all look.
This has been great. And if you guys have additional questions, just let Tamar know and I'm available. So, but just hard work. It is hard work, but it is, you know, there's nothing better than this, you know, like there is nothing, and you will just, you know, we have, you're all here. So like we have the luxury to take advantage of these women in this room and like bounce ideas off of them, you know, and stop looking left and stop looking right at what everyone else is doing, because it's so distracting, and it only just takes time away from your mission and your dream and your goals. And it is like, there weren't that many distractions when I was coming up. So I know how hard it is now to like stay focused. But it is just, if you can really center yourself and like, and really preserving your energy and putting your energy only into the things that will be productive for you as a creative and as a human being. Like those things are really, it's you know, it's how you can really stay on the right track. And yeah, and I'm here for you. And I know that you guys spoke to Nisha, and she's a really good friend of mine. And I think having these alliances in this industry is really what's going to help in the long run.
Absolutely.
So,
Wally,
thank you for having me.
really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming, Ali. We appreciate you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I will, yeah, let's talk soon. And hopefully we can get, you know, when this thing is behind us, I'd love, you know, we'll facilitate some form of, whether it's a virtual writing camp or an in-person, we will get to that point, but I'm here, so.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank you so much, Ali.
Oh my God.
Have a nice night or day, or, you know, whatever time it is. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.